opening ceremonies, as it were. All right. Welcome to another webinar in this National Distance Learning Week series for 2021. My name is John Zelenak, and I'm the Operations Manager for SUNY Online. I'm standing in for Aaron Maney, who is the Community Engagement Manager for SUNY Online. And it's my pleasure to introduce our speakers and our topic today. Let me advance my slide here. The topic is using distance learning faculty mentors to help promote success. And our presenters today are, let's see, Davinder Kaur and Maya Bentz from Farmingdale State College. Davinder Kaur is the Director of Distance Learning at Farmingdale State College. She has experience in higher education distance learning programs, including strategic planning and new initiatives. She works in coordination with instructional designers and system administrators to provide dedicated support services in course planning, design, creation, and review to ensure quality standards, operational best practices, guidelines, and recommendations for distance learning format courses, develop and provide training and professional development services for faculty focused on technology and pedagogy for distance learning, and facilitate opportunities for collaboration that fosters innovation and use of new technologies and pedagogical approaches in distance learning. Dr. Maya Bentz is a coordinator of instructional design and senior instructional designer at Farmingdale State College. She assists faculty with instructional design in online and hybrid courses to ensure adherence to the SUNY Oscar rubric and best practices. She presents at conferences, offers workshops and individual training sessions to help faculty remain current with regional and national emerging trends in distance education and incorporate new technologies in their online courses. Welcome all. And I'm going to stop sharing now and allow Davinder to share her screen.
Great, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you for joining us for this presentation. I'm just going to share the slide deck with you all, so you guys should be able to see that. Thank you again for joining us in our presentation. We're going to talk to you today about distance learning faculty mentors that we utilized at Farmingdale State College, especially during the COVID related closures, and then how we plan to extend this program beyond those measures. So I'm just going to advance to the next slide. So today we'll give you basically an overview of the mentorship program, the importance of faculty mentorship, especially in relation to why we really needed it at Farmingdale State, how we selected the faculty mentors, the training and onboarding process, which includes orientation, and then what is required of faculty mentors in terms of what sort of activities they're conducting, and then what their reporting structure is in terms of what feedback they're giving us. We'll give you an overview of some of the community engagement workshops that they've done. And I think you'll find those very, very inspiring because our mentors came up with some really great and unique topics. And then we'll also share feedback directly from the faculty mentors, as well as next steps on this program and how we plan to extend it. So the importance of faculty mentors, during not only the training and the onboarding of online faculty is, for the faculty's professional development engagement beyond that. So our office really focuses on, or has primarily focused on, training faculty in the use of the learning management system, helping them become acclimated to all of the teaching and learning technologies that we have at the college. And then also, teaching them how to design effective student-centered courses using the Oscar rubric and standards and best practices. There's pedagogical approaches related to that. There's quality assurance approaches related to that. And for those of you who are familiar, it's just, a very nice, complete rubric that assures that your courses are being created with the student experience in mind. historically, especially before COVID, we've always had issues getting that professional development after that initial training and development period, where we did offer ongoing workshops, trainings, both in person and remote. And now obviously more of that is remote. And there was just not a lot of engagement, and that's because of busy faculty schedules. They're just doing so much, their research, their teaching, preparations, things like that. But after COVID, we noticed that there were really need for, something more than, beyond our training, beyond our initial engagement with them. Excuse me. And so really this came about with this sudden shift to the emergency remote format, which occurred for us and many other institutions in the spring of 2020. We started, seeing over 700 plus faculty members at that point who were suddenly thrust into, shifting from their face-to-face classes into these emergency remote classes, which are not traditional online, but they still needed that initial acclimation and orientation to the LMS. They still needed, some sense of overview of what are the learning technologies. How can I do a conference call with my students, a web call with my students? How can I collect assignments? We really had a wide spectrum and range in terms of skills and abilities, where some instructors, adopted the LMS, the whole online, process fairly quickly, while others really struggled with it. And so what we were dealing with was, faculty members, as I mentioned, over 700 plus faculty members who needed some type of training or engagement. And we were at that point really working with 2 full-time instructional designers, 1 part-time instructional designer, and an administrative assistant who we had just hired a month before. And so, everyone was sort of thrust into this role. And and Maya will talk to you about this, sometimes found ourselves doing these webinars, these workshops, and there would be 90 people in a workshop. There would be 100 people. And so, and again, because people's skill sets and experiences, were all over the place, you had people asking, very basic questions, and they really needed that basic orientation to someone who was much more experienced and wanted to learn, for example, more advanced features of Blackboard Collaborate. So there was initial survey that did go out to all faculty in the fall of 2020. And it was a satisfaction survey that focused on not only distance learning efforts and trainings, but all across the college as far as what IT was offering, as far as, the faculty experience. There was also a separate survey for students. And some of the findings that were important to us at that point were, the request for very small targeted trainings, and they wanted them targeted by, obviously user skill levels. So they wanted more of the beginner, intermediate, and the advanced, for example. They wanted specifically trainings beyond, just getting onto the LMS, transitioning to the LMS, but on how to employ technologies in their virtual classroom. So for example, somebody was interested in using VoiceThread, and how can I do that in my classroom? Or I want to do, lecture capture, and so we utilize Panopto. So they wanted us to teach them how to do that. So it was very topic based, and sometimes in some cases even discipline specific. And they also wanted opportunities for hands-on work while they were in training. So if we were, overviewing the LMS or, any type of technology, they wanted to be able to kind of do it on their end, with us synchronously, so that they can kind of get used to it. Another need, which is fairly new for us, is the impending shift to the new learning management system, and how the faculty mentors will be able to help us really kind of, buffer some of the I guess just the nerves that people will have as a result of this, and how they can sort of build people's confidence, other faculty members' confidence in transitioning and shifting over to a new LMS after everything that they've been through. So a little bit of an overview of what we do with the Faculty Mentor Program and what it's about. So we are utilizing experienced and trained online faculty. What that means is that they have been through our online training program, and they have developed at least one fully online course and then taught that course in a fully online capacity. And so they are sharing that knowledge, that experience, their strategies in terms of how they engage students, and how they use these teaching and learning technologies to deliver their course content specifically. Initially, the stipend that we offered them was $2,500 per semester per mentor. And since then, the mentorship programs kind of shifted and evolved, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, where it's now spanning a academic year. So we're giving them $4,000 for the academic year per mentor. So there is a stipend involved, and we really fought for this for our mentors, for our faculty mentors, because and I remember having this conversation with Maya in the spring of the 2020 semester as we were kind of talking about developing this program. And we were just saying that the faculty are already so inundated and they have so much to contend with as far as shifting to this online platform. And even our experienced online faculty members are not teaching all their courses in the online format initially. And so there were still things that they were doing to shift their face-to-face classes. And so, we felt that paying them the stipend was fair. We had to obviously make the argument to our administrative offices, to our provost office, and get, approvals and everything like that. So, there was a lot around that, a lot of discussion around that. But, I don't think personally that it would be as successful as it has been if there wasn't some sort of stipend or something attached to it that, it's either service or credit or a stipend, something that, faculty can really walk away from, in terms of the time and the effort that they're putting into this, which is substantial. The mentors offer small group and individual training sessions. If you recall back to the previous slide, that was something that was requested of the faculty who were surveyed. And they also do presentations within the specific departments, but also in other departments. So you'll see a listing of our faculty mentors and the different departments and programs that they're in. They'll focus on their own departments, but for example, our nursing department is very well adept to online. And so maybe if there isn't a huge amount of need to do, workshops and seminars, so that mentor will actually transition over to another area or another department and help out in that area. So even though we're very happy to see the wide spectrum and variety of different mentors in terms of their departments and programs, they do transition back and forth between other departments as well. We also partnered with the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology department, which is currently run out of the library, CTLT, and conducted college level programs or workshop series. And that was just open to all faculty. So whether you were teaching an online class for the first time or thinking about it, or just interested in seeing what this technology was about, even for your face-to-face class, it was open to everyone, and it was really well received. So I'll give you a little bit more details about that shortly. The faculty mentors also assisted in other teaching and learning technologies, but was very relevant for all of the emergency remote online classes was the live streaming technologies, and helping their faculty peers sort of get a rundown of the technologies that we have offered at the college, which is Blackboard Collaborate, Microsoft Teams, and Google Meet, and really what are the features of each. And Maya will kind of give you a better overview of that shortly. Faculty also help to incorporate discipline-specific best practices in their courses. So I kind of mentioned that as well. And they will help us in the distance learning office eventually provide support in terms of training and just that peer support once we do start the LMS migration process and the training for that. So here is a sample of the program timeline. And this is something that we share with our mentors, but this is also very helpful when we are working on, with the administrative offices on campus, such as HR, payroll, the provost office, because everything has to be approved obviously ahead of time, UP8 forms, and all of that good stuff, all the paperwork that goes into it. But this is also very helpful for mentors because it sort of sets their expectations in terms of what is expected of them. So they have to attend, for example, an orientation, and Maya will give you an overview of that. But there are also dates for chairs where they'll announce the mentors and their contact information within the departments to faculty. So that's really important because, we're starting this program. We obviously want to advertise it. We want it, that information out there. And so people will utilize it. We give them a period of, in terms of, when they're expected to actually provide their mentorship services and some examples of that. And that's, obviously right now for the academic year would be from September until May. And we also provide best practices checklists to them as guidance for the mentoring process. So Maya will highlight that a little bit more in a bit. And then they also will submit reports back to us. So we give them a deadline for that. Obviously, we want to manage their expectations. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about the reporting and why that's important for this process and really some of the, things that we learned as a part of this process. So once final reports are reviewed and approved, then obviously what's not on here is, things go to HR for processing, for payments and all that good stuff. So this really helps kind of manage everyone's expectations, everyone's schedules, and everyone's on the same page across the board. I mentioned that we started talking about the mentorship program in spring of 2020, when everything went to the emergency remote format. It was implemented for the summer 2020 semester. There was still a significant amount of faculty who were teaching emergency remote classes that semester, and then still more who were preparing their fall classes for the emergency remote format. So we utilized the mentors in the summer for the first time formally. Unfortunately, the program was not funded for the fall 2020 semester. And we were able to bring it back after, kind of putting it in everyone's face that we could, at the administration's face, and showing them the reports and the initial feedback that we were able to share and how wonderful of a program this is and how helpful this is to our faculty. And so thankfully, we were able to bring it back for the spring 2021 semester. And now we have full approval for the academic year. And, I will definitely be working towards extending that beyond this academic year as well. So here's a listing of the current mentors that we have, and this is for the academic year 2021-2022. And they are just an amazing group of faculty from all across our 4 schools. You'll see School of Arts and Sciences, School of Business, School of Engineering, School of Health Sciences, and they're from a variety of different departments: criminal justice, psychology, English, bio, nursing, mechanical engineering, automotive technology. Really, really amazing, I think, representation across the board. The asterisk next to each individual is the amount of times they've actually participated in the mentorship program. So, you'll see someone such as Deanna Devlin, who's only done it once. This is probably her first time doing it, as opposed to Douglas Galloway from History, Politics, and Geography, who's done it right from the beginning and, he's kind of a senior at this, very experienced mentor. And this is a really great mix of new and experienced mentors who have been through this process before, because, we're definitely learning from what we're doing every semester, but also we're able to add some fresh perspectives, some fresh faculty members who are able to bring in some new ideas. And that's always, exciting. So during the faculty mentors training, I believe this is Maya, I'm sorry, actually.
As Davinder mentioned, faculty mentors are required to attend the orientation. And during the orientations, the mentors are introduced to the program requirements and deadlines. In summer 2020, during the pandemic campus closure, distance learning created mentor resources course in Blackboard with links to the remote faculty course template and best practices checklist. Although mentors are experienced online instructors, distance learning provides training in Blackboard Learn, Panopto video platform, and web conferencing software applications, Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams. And Davinder mentioned also that we have VoiceThread, and we have a course, self-paced online course, which mentors were enrolled, and they also were able to share their expertise in VoiceThread with faculty. Next slide.
Sure.
Mentor Resources course in Blackboard has links to the Mentor Incentives Program with requirements and due dates. Faculty mentors prepared presentations for the mentor workshops for the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology, CTLT, at Farmingdale. Mentors posted their presentation topics and descriptions in the shared Google document. Mentor Resources course has links to the online teaching best practices checklist and SUNY resources for teaching online. Mentors created a survey template to distribute it with department faculty, asking about current Blackboard Learn proficiency and specific training requirements. Next slide. Dr. Ustener, a mentor from Automotive Technology Department, developed video tutorials for the School of Engineering Technology faculty, using a tablet in Blackboard and using your phone as a document camera in Blackboard. Next slide. Farmingdale has 3 approved web conferencing software applications: Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams. The comparison table was created to make it easier for faculty to select the right software for their classes.
Great, thank you, Maya. As I mentioned, the mentors had some reporting responsibilities at the end of every semester. And this will also happen at the midpoint of the academic year in this case, as well as the end of the academic year. And so what we did is we created Google Documents for them with each of their names on it. And we, sort of put in questions or areas that we wanted information about. And so those included the number of trainings that they provided, just so they can track how much they're doing, the number of individual or group training sessions that they offered, and the actual number of workshops or seminars that they conducted. Also, we told them to keep a rough count of the total number of faculty that they either trained, whether it was, a quick training of, hey, I just want to bounce some ideas off of you, or can you give me a good overview of how you use Blackboard Collaborate, for example. We also asked them for suggestions and comments in terms of feedback, which, some of it we'll share with you guys towards the end of this presentation. As far as the community engagement, we basically partnered with CTLT, as I mentioned before. So in addition to the department workshops and presentations, and even the smaller group professional development opportunities that they developed, we had them develop presentations that we would then offer through CTLT for the entire college. And so what we came up with were basically 5 themes that were relevant to distance education at our college. And then each mentor had to select a theme and then come up with a topic and presentation relevant to that theme. So I'll share those themes with you guys in those presentations shortly. And each presentation we actually challenged them to keep each presentation to 15 minutes with 5 minutes Q&A, so a total of 20 minutes. So we were able to fit 2 presentations into each session, and then offer that for the fall semester. We recorded everything, and everything is available through our faculty resources site in Blackboard. So for those faculty who are not able to attend live, they can go back and review those recordings. And because they're not hour-long workshops, they're very targeted workshops, they can get the information that they need and, move forward with how they want to implement it. So we did 10 presentations in the fall semester, this semester, and we will do the same for spring 2022. We're actually going to convene with our mentors in November, well, this month, and actually ask them, what's their feedback on these presentations, anything that they want to change as far as the format, were they happy with it? Because this is really a collaborative approach with them. And so we want to be able to get their feedback and then make it that much better for the spring semester again. So we'll announce those dates again. So the presentation themes were teaching and learning technologies, pedagogical innovation specific to distance education, of course, authentic assessment strategies, because this is such a hot topic about, proctored exams and, colleges spending thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in some cases on proctoring services. And so really challenging faculty to think about authentic assessment strategies in place of just using proctored exams for every single assessment that they wanted to do. Also strategies for student engagement. So this is something very early on during the transition to emergency remote classes where we would get this question often: how do I make my students turn on their camera? And so, you know, it really became about student engagement and how do you get your students to engage in these online classes, because in some cases it was the first time students were taking online classes as well. And then also nurturing online communities. And this is really just to kind of think about moving forward in terms of, you know, even if we do go back to a face-to-face class as far as a faculty member, how can they extend some of their teaching that they've learned online into that format as well?
The first workshop, Teaching and Learning Technologies, was offered on October 4th. Dr. Deanna Devlin, Criminal Justice Department, School of Arts and Sciences, presented Using VoiceThread for Interactive Online Classroom Experience. Students do not always favor online courses due to the lack of interaction and engagement with their professor and classmates. However, the use of VoiceThread allows for engaging experience in asynchronous classes. Dr. Devlin, during her presentation, provided a tutorial on how to use VoiceThread and leverage its features to bring traditional features of online learning to life. Dr. Douglas Galloway, History, Politics, and Geography Department, School of Arts and Sciences, presented Harnessing the Latest Technologies Trends for Teaching Online. Many people find teaching online to be challenging, but there are a number of ways to improve your online presence. Taking advantage of the latest technologies is a great way to build confidence and improve student learning outcomes. During the presentation, Dr. Galloway discussed innovative teaching technologies such as live streaming options and video creation to help improve online classes. The second workshop, Pedagogical Innovations, was offered on October 7th. Dr. Michael Figuccio, Psychology Department, School of Arts and Sciences, presented Google Sites and e-service learning. E-service learning is an integrative pedagogy that engages learners through technology in civic inquiry, service, reflection, and action. Recently, it has been established that students obtain similar learning outcomes in both service learning and e-service learning activities. Dr. Figuccio discussed how Google Sites can be employed in e-service learning projects. Dr. Jason Lutz, English and Humanities Department, School of Arts and Sciences, presented Decentering the Classroom with Social Media Trends. Teaching remotely showed us that our students' personal online presence does not always transfer or contribute to the academic online learning. From reaction videos to the Tell Me Without Telling Me challenge, social media trends encourage students to access learning material on their terms and take more responsibility for their learning experience. The third workshop, Assessment Strategies, was offered on October 12th. Dr. Jessica Seifert, Biology Department, School of Arts and Sciences, presented strategies for creating and implementing authentic assessments in science courses. Dr. Seifert covered the course-based implementation of a combination of assessment modalities: low-stakes assessment, traditional high-stakes assessments, and high-stakes authentic assessment. In addition, she covered the benefits and drawbacks of authentic assessments and strategies for incorporating authentic assessments in courses. Dr. Gazda Ustener, Automotive Technology, School of Engineering, presented backward design and creative assessment methods. Assessment is a key factor for improving student learning. Backward design offers a unique approach for designing, developing, and improving course curriculum and assessment methods. Dr. Ustener focused on designing student-centered assessment methods rather than using traditional assessments and encouraging students to actively participate in the assessments that require them to apply the principles and knowledge they have learned in the courses.
Our next theme for strategies for student engagement was presented by Dr. Michael Frania, and it was on engaging tools in Blackboard Collaborate. And so he really covered accessibility tools that can be used in Blackboard for remote synchronous and or live streaming classes, because we at one point, actually for this semester, have all of those formats running. He displayed how to utilize the polling feature and also how to use breakout groups and shared best practices around that. We also had, under the same theme for strategies for student engagement, presented by Dr. Ji Lee, on how to revisit student engagement and best practices. And it provided a broader view of student engagement and recommended best practices to improve student engagement in online, remote, and live stream classes. She discussed challenges of engaging students in live stream classes and provided some strategies on how to overcome that. The next theme was nurturing online communities, and that was presented by Dr. Sherry Manensing from our nursing area in the School of Health Sciences. And she focused on engaging students in the online courses, which is challenging for educators, and utilizing various teaching strategies in online communities such as Facebook, LinkedIn, and or Twitter, which can be a benefit to getting students engaged in these online classes. And finally, we had our last presentation for the Nurturing Online Communities theme about strengthening online classroom community through peer modeling and peer-to-peer connections. And we start learning from our peers at a very young age. We observe how others complete tasks and replicate their approach. And this process is commonly referred to as peer modeling, and it continues to be integral to our learning through our lives. In online learning environments, forming a platform for students to peer model and as a result create meaningful peer-to-peer connections is a challenge. So there were ideas discussed in terms of formats and how this could be included in online environments to establish and encourage peer modeling to form meaningful peer-to-peer connections. So this is about that student-to-student engagement in online classes. So I wanted to share some feedback with you as far as the mentors themselves. And this was really after the summer semester when everyone was newly going through this, shift to remote online. And I think some of these are really telling. So as a mentor for online faculty during summer 2020, I had a very positive and effective experience during this major shift for Farmingdale State College. I worked with faculty individually, and we covered everything from uploading a syllabus to sharing content during a collaborate session. I hope that the college will provide more support incentives for the fall semester as these issues are only going to persist. That was foreboding. So in a nutshell, we extracted this quote. This was very, very telling. This sense of barely staying on top of the remote teaching requirements seems to be widespread. Instructors were committed to serving their students and felt their efforts left no time and no energy to innovate or experiment with the various tools available on Blackboard. Ironically, the workshops offered might have helped faculty save time. For example, several instructors described the burden of collecting assignments via email when Blackboard provides a much more efficient means of managing homework, essays, and exams. But the prospect of yet another training session and yet another technology intimidated many and left them content with a let's just get through this term philosophy. I thought that was so telling in terms of this feedback, because not only, does that really kind of tell you about where the mentors were in terms of, mentally what they were feeling, but in general, where the faculty and how, just really burdened and burnt out they were feeling at the time. And so, like I said, all of these reports were shared from our office right up to the provost office, just to really give our executive team, our administrators, an idea of just, how much effort is really going into doing this shift, but doing it as in a quality way as best as they possibly humanly can, which is difficult. So what are the next steps as we wrap up? We are looking at doing, obviously, as I mentioned, the spring 22 planning as for the CTLT workshops. So the mentors and our office will engage in a wrap-up meeting sometime this month. The mentors will also submit midpoint reviews due by December, just to give us an idea of, how much engagement they've done already for this semester. And then they'll do a final report at the end of the spring 22 semester in May of next year. At some point, we'll also start talking to them about LMS migration planning and what their role will be. And then we are already talking to our administration about budgeting for faculty mentors for the next academic year and what that will look like. We also plan to formalize some feedback mechanisms, specifically surveys for faculty who are using the mentors program to get their feedback, and also feedback from the mentors themselves. So the reports are a good way to get this, but we would like to really formalize this process because it's so helpful, not in only sharing information in platforms like this, but also sharing information with, when it comes time for budgeting and, those type of asks. So thank you so much for your time. I think that's basically it. I'm going to stop sharing at this point. If there's any questions, we would be happy to take them. Okay, I think there's a whole bunch of questions in the chat, actually. So the first one says, do the mentors get some sort of acknowledgement for their promotional package? Are they called mentors or something more prestigious? So that's a great question. This is actually something that I have proposed this semester to our provost office to get some sort of shout out, whether it's at commencement or, some sort of, end of semester letter to the college community. But you guys saw from the presentations that they came up with, the topics and everything that they put into it, as far as we just gave them 5 themes and they just ran with it and came back with amazing topics. And so I have been singing their praises to our provost office all semester long, and that is exactly what I plan to do, is getting some sort of acknowledgement for them, because they truly do deserve it.
Davinder, there is additional question here. Does it matter how many individuals the mentor is working with? Is it set up as one-on-one?
So that's really up to the mentor. A lot of times faculty who are seeking that mentorship, that help, really want more of a one-on-one. And so they'll be able to set that up with the mentor. And, in some cases we'll ask the mentor just to kind of do a survey of the department in which they're providing these services to, and see what the needs are of the faculty. So if, everyone or majority come back as like, I want to learn how to set up a test in Blackboard, for example, they'll come up with a workshop that addresses that specifically, but they'll do both. They'll do one-on-one and they'll do more of a group setting as well.
What the report looks like, what are you tracking?
So the report started out a bit informal when we initially started the program, and Maya can talk to that a little bit. When we started the program in summer 2020, we just kind of asked for their feedback. Hey, how did it go? We know this has been so difficult for you in terms of your own transition, but then thank you so much for offering this support. Just give us some feedback so we know how things are going. And that's evolved now. And you saw from my slide that I shared that we're asking for more specifics in terms of numbers. And that's really to be able to share with our executive team so we can continue to get funded.
Yes, we created a Google Documents we shared with them, and it was a template. So we asked them for number of individual or group training sessions offered, number of workshops, seminars conducted, total number of faculty trained, and then for overview and comments and suggestions also.
So I do see another question. Did the professors' mentors come up with the topics? Did you guide what they should talk about? We just gave them the 5 themes. We met with them pretty, briefly in terms of orientation, and gave them the task, which is it should be 15 minutes with 5 minutes of Q&A. And they just went off and came up with these amazing topics. And I was just so happy. We shared a Google Doc with them and they just started filling it out and just started arranging themselves in terms of, I'll partner with this person on this theme, and someone else will partner with them on it. It just worked out seamlessly. They're truly amazing group of people. We're very lucky. How many individuals is each mentor responsible for to receive their stipend? Does everyone have the same number of individuals? Not necessarily. So as I mentioned, the nursing school has, they have their online program. So their faculty are all pretty well trained. And so when this whole, pandemic hit and everyone, had to transition to the remote emergency format, nursing, initially didn't have a lot of need for their mentors. But, they're not restricted to just work within that department. They are able to move to other departments as well and offer, their services, their topics. We like the fact that it's discipline specific. It can be discipline specific, but, in terms of how to set up a collaborate session is pretty relevant no matter which, topic or what course you're teaching. So it's helpful to everyone. Any other questions?
Folks, we only have a few minutes left. More questions are welcome. The session does end at 1:45.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out, email either myself or Maya. We'd be happy to answer and elaborate any further.
Thanks, everyone. I just want to share my screen one more time here and put up our end slide and let you know about our next opportunities. So you should see that now. And I'll put these links in the chat. I want to thank everyone for attending. And I want to thank Maya and Davinder for presenting today and sharing their expertise. The session recording and slides will be uploaded to the playlist at the registration site. Our next session begins at 11 a.m. tomorrow. And for the full schedule, the links on the page, and I'll copy those into the chat shortly here. You can check out the full schedule there. And we would appreciate your feedback. Please complete the survey at your convenience and check out additional sessions happening at the United States Distance Learning Association website. And I'll put all that in the chat. And are there any final questions?
I'll just share my email address if anyone wants that.
All right, and I will stop the recording.